The state of North Carolina is more than twice as long as the distance between London and Paris. From soaring mountains through the foothills, the Piedmont coastal plains, to the pristine beaches, there are hundreds of towns and cities, each with unique stories to tell.
There's a place where you can love your neighbors, you love yourself, and everybody can get along.
Every North Carolina community has pride, and more than a few have real challenges.
The nearest grocery store is 18-20 miles away.
Main Street NC is a special series from the WUNC Politics podcast, telling the stories of communities across North Carolina in the words of the people who live there and reported by Capitol Bureau Chief Colin Campbell. Main Street NC, coming up after this.
So if you want to go and get on them real quick, we'll get your feet settled and...
Get your vest on first.
Yep.
I'm about to hop in a kayak just off a rural highway in Sampson County. My guides for this kayaking trip down the Great Coharie River are two members of the Coharie Indian Tribe, Colin Bell and Carol Brewington. After a short walk from the road through some trees and bushes, we enter the waters of this slow-moving, serene river.
I was telling him we call this entering the Coharie portal.
Yeah, you wouldn't know this was here from just driving down the road.
No, yeah.
As we paddle down the river, Colin and Carol stop to show us plants and animals that are common in this corner of eastern North Carolina.
So that is an active beaver lodge right there.
Oh, wow. These guided kayaking trips are part of the Coharie Tribe's recreation and tourism initiative that began a few years ago. Sampson County has been known more as a place to stop on the way to the beach rather than a destination itself. But since members of the Coharie Tribe cleaned out debris from the Great Coharie River, Bell says they've led hundreds of people on kayaking tours.
And then you get out on the Great Coharie River with Coharie members, tribal members, who have a deep understanding of the waterways and have a deep connection and understand the native species versus invasive species, the tree species, what type of birds you're going to see, and can really... that neat part of the environmental education component tied in with the indigenous wisdom is just an overall really, really neat package that we're able to offer.
Visitors also get a taste of Coharie culture and history at the Tribal Center. During our visit, a 3-year-old girl was practicing a song for an upcoming pageant competition. There's also a display with a 600-year-old dugout canoe found in a nearby river. State archaeologists determined that the canoe likely belonged to Coharie ancestors, which allows them to keep it here. The river tourism program is also boosting businesses in downtown Clinton, about 8 miles south of the Coharie headquarters. Our guide suggested we get lunch at a recent addition to the downtown revitalization efforts here. R&R Brewing opened its taproom and restaurant a few months ago in a historic building that once housed a car dealership. Owner Ryan Roberts says he picked Clinton for his second location, opting for the town of 8,000 people instead of a larger city.
We wanted to maintain our personality and kind of this rest and relaxation vibe and everything, and that's more difficult to do in busier cities, more metropolitan areas. It's more competition, it's more go, 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 go. So that meant, we wanted to focus on smaller communities, and smaller meaning like sub 20,000 population.
R&R Brewing's large space has become popular for hosting events, and it's the sort of bustling brew pub you'd typically see in a larger city or suburb. Clinton's once sleepy downtown also has a coffee shop and art gallery down the street from the brewery. Sampson County's tourism agency hopes that can draw day trippers from the Triangle, Fayetteville, and further afield. Back at the Coharie Tribal Center, I spoke with leaders to learn more about the river program and what it's brought to the Coharie people. Greg Jacobs has served as the tribal administrator for the Coharie Tribe since 2011 and also served in the role in the late 70s, early 80s as well. Philip Bell is the coordinator of the Coharie River Initiative. Thanks so much, gentlemen, for speaking with me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So to start off, tell me a little bit about the history of the Coharie Tribe and your roots here in the Sampson County area.
Actually our Aboriginal origin, to talk about the history of the tribe, was down in the eastern part of the state at the present city of Newbern. The tribe was known at that time as the Nisiok tribe. There was 2 small towns or bands of Native Americans. The town, one was called Chatuka, the other was called Rakonk. They were surrounded by the dominant tribe of the Tuscaroras and many other smaller bands of tribes back then. We show up in Sampson County, and we land here on the Great Coharie River. The reason from moving from the East Coast to further west into North Carolina was finding a place that we were safe in to raise our family. In those initial years in the early 1700s, we were running for our life. We were running from European diseases that we had no immune system to help us out there. We were running from European conflict and also as intertribal conflict. When we came to the Coharie River, it was a beautiful place. It was a safe place. We stopped running. 2025, we've never left.
So I understand the building that we're actually sitting in, now the tribal headquarters, used to be the East Carolina Indian School. What's the history of that and its role in your history?
In my history, I was born in 1953. The school was established in 1943 as the first high school for Native Americans in Sampson County, also for 7 surrounding counties. There was a Board of Education system for the white race at that time, before 1943. There was a system also for the black race, but no specific system for the Native Americans that live in this area. Maintaining our identity, we were not allowed to go to the white schools. Maintaining our identity, we would not go to the black schools, but we educated ourselves until the time that we won recognition of such that the government would support an individual system for the Native Americans. And this was the product of winning a battle in 1943. This was the first high school in the area for Native Americans in a 7-county area.
So this served, I guess, not only Coharie, but other folks from neighboring counties?
Yeah, any Native American from neighboring counties. They came and actually stayed with our family so they could go to school here. Otherwise, they didn't have an opportunity to get in high school education. Before that date, like my mom and dad, their only opportunity was for a 7th grade education, and that was pretty much in the churches, one-room schoolhouses that the community had built and supported. So before 1943, educational opportunity was very limited for Native Americans.
How long was this school in operation at the site?
The school operated from 1943 to 1965 when forced integration came to be.
Mm-hmm. And was there something lost in that process with having somewhat of a ability to sort of educate children on their heritage as American Indians, or?
There was an adjustment period. I was a part of that. I was fortunate enough to go through segregation and integration. I was fortunate enough on that first day to be one of the students that went from a small, isolated area of living to being cast into dominant society. It was very unnerving. There was a little bit of difference, I would say, in the quality of the education here at the smaller school system and as the dominant school system. So I had to play catch-up ball. And for a youngster that had lived the isolated life, pretty much staying within his own race, it was quite a bit of historical trauma.
So you touched on the river a little bit. What do you see as the significance of the Great Coharie River to the tribe, Philip?
Oh, Lord. The significance of the river is our people are finally getting back to something that, like Greg talked about, this is our home when we fled the settlers moving in. When we settled on the Coharie River, it was somewhere where we could be at peace. And that peace came and stayed until probably in the mid to late 60s when the land was taken over. Well, not taken over, land was
in the hands of our state government?
Well, the state government got a hold of land through up until the 60s. This parcel of land across the river from us was open to everyone. I mean, people from all walks of life could go there. That's where we recreated. You talked about the school. I remember when the schools needed to have a party or something, we couldn't go to town to have a celebration at a banquet or anything, we could always go to the river, to the sandy banks, and have parties. In fact, we were able to purchase a piece of land down south of here that they used to use for graduation ceremonies. When the students would, in the 12th grade, they would go there and have their celebrations on that. We have pictures of, on the banks and swimming and all. In any event, that changed when this parcel, 4,800 acres across the road from where the school sits now, was taken over by the state through a wetlands mitigation process. Mm-hmm. And so over time, the land became part of the state structure for wetlands, and restrictions were put on the property that you had to have either a lease agreement for hunting on the land to access it. So it was taken away from the public, more or less. Anyway, when I retired from USDA, I came on and Greg and I were talking about wanting to get access to the property here. And we learned quickly that that wasn't possible. In fact, I was bush hogging a place down near where I live, and some boys told me that after I bush hogged it, I got home and I was at the store, and some boys told me, said, there's a fellow here looking for you. And I said, well, did you tell them where I live? They said, yeah. So I said, well, maybe they'll come find me, make sure that they know where I am. Anyway, I ran up with a guy the next week, and he worked with North Carolina DEQ. And we got to talking, and he said, you're trespassing on some property there. And I said, well, if you knew where the property lines were, that wouldn't be the case. So we went down and we got it straightened out. But I learned then that, our folks didn't have that freedom to access the properties for fishing, for recreating, for anything. And so we petitioned the state to allow us to go in and clean out a section just for our people to paddle. And we have a drum group of young men who were in their, early 20s and teens. And we asked them just to come and help us clean the river out starting in, 2013 or 14. 14. So the state said, sure, you can clean out the place, but that's all you can do is just paddle. These boys didn't have any idea what the river meant to the tribe at that time. We got in there, they cleaned out almost a mile with borrowed chainsaws and borrowed tools, and we found that in the afternoons when we finished work, the boys would use the boats to go and paddle more. Or on Sundays, you'd find them at the church, they'd be in the river. There was always someone down the river, so we knew something was happening. Greg and I determined that from there, let's see what we can accomplish here in getting access or greater access to the river. So we did. We cleaned out a couple of miles that first year, and then the second year we did the same thing. But what we found was that our young men, when we started, out of the 6 or 8 that started with us, only one of them had a full-time job. The second year that we started the clean out and got permission to clean the river, only one of them didn't have a job. So we knew that something happened there. And since then, the river has just been, medicine for our people and medicine for anyone that goes down there. When you paddle on the Great Coharie, it's a real experience.
Since you've opened it up to other folks to participate in this, what sort of benefits have the Coharie seen from bringing in people for these river trips?
Well, you're here.
Yeah.
With the river being reintroduced into our lives in the community and the various colleges coming down to give assistance, when people heard that this small tribe had taken on the venture of cleaning out the rivers of Sampson County, we were surprised that people showed up and they were wanting to provide assistance and they wanted to help. As I guess you went down that river today, all of those people that went down that river had a story to tell. And I think we have heard the words like that river has spirituality. That river is sacred. By the time I finish my paddle, they'll say something had changed about me, and they go home and they tell the neighbors. And that has brought tourists from other states. We've actually had them from other countries that was over here, not particularly for that purpose, but while they were here in the States, they heard of these Coharie Indians that was touring the river and the work that we done, and they became interested. So it has gave us accessibility to thousands, and some of those people have talents that we need here to better our community, and they're willing to come back to help. So it has changed things by increasing our network of talents and things that we need to make this a better place.
Is there a revenue component as well that allows you to employ more members of the Coharie Tribe involved in this and perhaps offer more programs to your citizens than you were able to do before this all got started?
I think so. We're
the river has in so many ways helped the Coharie Tribe. There has funds come in support of that river, actually right now to have 2 full-time staff that work specifically with the river. And you asked the questions a while ago, was that our intentions of the tourism and the finances. But once we got introduced back to that river and we rediscovered the beauty of that river and how it made us feel and the medicine of that river, we realized that we had a beautiful, entertaining piece right here in our backyard. So rather than traveling to Disney World and to Carowinds, whatever, that we had something to showcase. And my mind as tribal administrator here says that this river has provided a major part of the overhead for a business that our young men and young women, should they want to create them a paddling service or to supplement their income, they can right here. And I think they've done pretty well at supplementing their income, as every week there's someone wanting to paddle that Coharie River and looking for guides. The guides get paid by the tourists that come in here, and I think that's only going to increase.
Do you see this as something that can be a model for other American Indian tribes or other rural communities that might have some sort of water resources that are similar that they could open back up and have some benefits from?
A big thing that I'm proud of is the fact that what the Coharies have started here has had a ripple effect across the state, down into Lumbee country and the other tribal groups. They've seen this as a model, and they've grasped their responsibility to Mother Nature to clean up their rivers, to start tourism services. So now if you'll look at Facebook, you will see these different groups popping up across the state and offering the same services that we're offering, taking care of the rivers in the same fashion that we've done. So we would like to say that we pioneered a way here that people can bond and become closer and meet their responsibilities with Mother Nature by the Great Coharie River Initiative out front. We hope we've influenced them for the better.
What kind of support are you getting, if any, from state and local governments for this type of program? Is that sort of a partnership in there? I know, I guess, the state owns some of the land adjacent to the river that you're working on here.
Well, I will tell you this, and this goes back to how the Great Coharie River Initiative came along, and it was by 2 elders that I heard talk, and they were right in the age of 90 years old. One of them was my sister, and one of them was my first cousin, and they asked me as a tribal leader, what about our river? What are you going to do about our river? Said it's become a swamp. Well, I went to Philip as the premier outdoorsman of the tribe. He's always cared about that river. He's always been in tune with it and what was going on with it, and he's always wanted to see it healthy, but he didn't have the resources. So as their words lingered for several months in my head as to what you're going to do with that river, and I couldn't think of what we would do with that river because we didn't have the resources. And how were you going to get those huge trees that completely cross the river out, miles and miles of that? But I went to Philip and I spoke to him about what they said. And there was a lot of that conversation, but the part that's pertaining to what you just asked me was that I told him, I said, well, we're just going to have to clean the river out, because he said he wanted his grandsons to have the same quality of life that me and him had, which took me back to my childhood. Philip and I used to run up and fish for redfins and jacks and catfish, and we were in our bib overalls and barefooted, and we go swimming, and it was just a beautiful, happy time, because during segregation, the public places across the county were not available to us. So it was our recreational center. It was a place for baptism. It was a place to fish and hunt and to be happy. So almost with an out-of-body experience, I told Philip, I said, Philip, you know what? We don't have the money to clean that river out, but if we'll stick our head down. And I looked back at what my ancestors did. I said, if we will just stick our head down and do the best we can with what we got, God will send us the resources that we need, just like he did our ancestors. And as of the day that happened, over $2 million came from the state government to help with the debris removal.
So outside of the river program, are there other events and initiatives that the Coharie are currently working on?
Oh, yes. We have a tremendous housing project that we put in place for economically disadvantaged families. We rehabilitate probably about 16 houses a year. We provide down payment assistance to 5 or 6 families that cannot afford a home a year, and then some emergency assistance through a specific program. One of the new initiatives that I'm really excited about is called a Lighthouse Initiative. It's where we're looking at hopefully powering this entire campus with solar energy. The solar energy would charge batteries, and the batteries would provide electricity here to run the system. Hopefully the sun will produce enough energy that we can store that and sell it to the utility companies. But the major thing behind that is that when we're talking about a lighthouse, we're hoping that in time of crisis and emergency shelter, that we'll be able to provide emergency shelters where people can come to and get in out of the heat, get in out of the cold. People that need to refrigerate their medications with health problems, rather than risk waiting till the electricity comes back on, would have a place that was cool and comfortable, and they can come here. Not only that, we are hoping to have equipment that is battery operated for cooling systems, fans, air conditions, generators, that we can distribute into the community and help alleviate some of the pain at the time of crisis. And that's a problem. That is a project that we're partnering with Duke University, and we're looking, and we've had some partial funding from the Rockefeller Foundation. Matter of fact, Philip and I just came back from New Orleans, Louisiana, taking a look at those projects that's been developed down there that has been real effective in alleviating problems for people.
And I understand some of the land holdings for the Coharie is increasing. There was a recent donation I saw from the company Smithfield, and then I understand the place that was sort of one of the put-in locations for the river program is a former telecom building that's now going to hopefully be part of the property that you guys have.
Yes, as I look back at my ancestors, we're small. We're a small group. We don't have a whole lot of political influence, and we're definitely not financially wealthy. But if you hang around us long enough, you'll come to admire us, because we are honest and we do have good work ethics and integrity. So some of these companies that have employed some of our people have been influenced in a good way, and they see the plight of our people, and they've reached out to help with some of their wealth. And so is the friendship and the partnership with Star Telephone, Smithfield Foods. Yeah, they just presented us with a 102-acre farm to help us in our battle with poverty and being a marginalized community.
Yeah, so the more resources you have through this land, the more you can help your own community and continue some of the programs that you have in the works.
We have this word that I have spoke of for 20 years as being the tribal administrator here, is self-sufficiency and self-determination. And that would be self-determination is figuring out what makes our people happy, what makes our people healthy, and us pursuing it the way that we perceive that it would be most effective in the community. Self-sufficiency, to work for what we get, to utilize this here land that's being donated us, to produce an income and develop our own social programs without being limited by government policies and this and the other. So the more land holdings we have, the more opportunity we have to develop ways of taking care of ourselves. And so that's what that's all about.
One thing I want to touch on as we wrap up, since it's been heavily in the news around the state lately, is the neighbors of y'all's down in Robeson County have been in the news seeking federal recognition for the Lumbee Tribe. I'm curious the Coharie Tribe's view on whether this change in status should happen for the Lumbee.
It is beautiful. Like I said, I lived through segregation. I lived through integration. I was born in 1953. All I know was Indian then. All I know is Indian now. So I don't know how you'd get the Indian out of me. You'd have to bleed it out of me, and so is the 65,000 strong Lumbees. We have suffered the atrocities of Native American people and the marginalized population. We have worked hard. We have fed our families. We've contributed to society. They deserved to be recognized by the federal government and every resources that is available that the federal government has promised to Native American people because of the way they've been treated. Yes, we hope it happens.
Do you see federal recognition for the Coharie Tribe as something that could be in the cards somewhere in the future?
In the future, yes, I think it has been in the cards. It takes a whole lot of money to pursue these federal to try to fit into the definitions that the feds have made as far as obtaining federal recognition. But we still need resources so that our children can go to fine schools and they can prepare themselves for more rewarding economic ventures. Yeah, we have senior citizens right now suffering at the high cost of drugs, at the high cost of health care, and there would be some resources to help those families out that they need. I will go on to say that the Coharie people is a proud people. We do not want to create a situation where we're sitting around waiting for the federal government to take care of us. That would go against what we perceive ourselves to be and what we're all about. We could use a little help, as we're going to do a lot to help ourselves.
Greg Jacobs has served as the tribal administrator for the Coharie Tribe for many years, and Philip Bell is the coordinator of the Coharie River Initiative. Thanks so much, gentlemen, for taking the time. Main Street NC is a production of WUNC News. The podcast is edited by Dave DeWitt. You can see photos of our trip down the Great Coharie River from Josh Sullivan at our website, WUNC.org. And if you're in Sampson County, you can listen to WUNC's news and information programming on the radio at 91.9 FM. I'm Colin Campbell. Thanks for listening.
Each story you hear on Planet Money starts with a question. What happens if we refund tariffs? Why are groceries so expensive? At NPR, we stand for your right to be curious, because the forces shaping our world can be hard to see. Follow NPR's Planet Money wherever you get your podcasts and start seeing how the economy really works.